It looks like game number 1 is ready to go here. Folks, seed number 5 versus seed number 8. On paper, a very balanced matchup as we will be heading into game number 1 on Gorge. Once again, this is a best of 5 set between Baltune and his opponent, DivineDFP. The winner gets to play the deciders tomorrow, which will decide who gets the final spot available in the EGC 2023 finals. Baltune spawning in as the French to the south, and to the north it is going to be Divine playing as Chushi's Legacy with the color blue.
Indeed, indeed. And here we go. What I like seeing from Divine right now is he isn't going for that early straggler tree strategy with Shushi's Legacy. He's also not going for the village build. With the unique start that you get with Shushi's Legacy, you can mix it up a little bit. What do I mean with the unique start? It's that Shushi's Legacy, compared to normal China, they don't have to produce their Imperial Official. Instead, they immediately start with 1, but they don't start with 6 villagers, only 5 instead. What that means is that you don't necessarily need to immediately go into straggler trees to be able to afford a village. Instead, what you can do is you can be completely fine with a single house until you reach Song Dynasty. And with Song Dynasty, you get a huge discount, and then you go for that village. You make use of that large discount and just overall have a really, really strong economy going on then.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing from Divine. You see, he already moved towards gold. For Baltune, it's a good old-fashioned opening. Although I see some red dots close to the hunt, it makes me wonder if he's actually taking the hunt with some villas, and indeed he does. I love this, to be honest. You don't expect much of a pressure early on from Jushi, so might as well take this hunt. And with the discount that you're getting on the French drop-off buildings, including the mill, it's not really an expensive move to move out there, but you do get a massive instant benefit from an increased getter rate from deer compared to sheep.
Exactly. I would have also thought that if Baltune goes for that, he might also be getting survival techniques early on. I didn't see it. I think maybe it could have come in for him. Can we quickly check out the mill if Baltune did go for that survival techniques? He did. So making use of that 30% discount that the French get for their eco technologies, he's going to be able to gather really, really quickly from these deer early on. And yeah, with a lot of food, he's going to be able to get a lot of knights out. Villager is moving out from Divine.
He's not depleting his sheep inside his base, so there is going to be a lot of fallback options for him food-wise. Lovely meditation gardens, though.
This is what I want to see from my meditation garden. This might actually also be in range of that second gold mine. So he might be getting a total of 60 gold, 30 stone, and then however much would that in total is going to add up to. So this is going to be a very nice meditation garden. Definitely going to give him at least 100 resource per minute here.
Yeah, for now, School of Cavalry on the way for Baltune. On the other side, Meditation Garden just being built by 1 villager, but you do have this bonus building speed for Divine, of course, so he doesn't need to rush this. He's still on gold. And I think this is where it gets interesting, how Divine is going to approach this game. We know what the French are about to do. Question is, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, the French are going to be going for those early knights. Now, you could go for a very fast Song Dynasty, and then, with one of your landmarks, the Jiangnan Tower, you're going to be getting free military units whenever you build a production building. So then, once you build a barracks, you're immediately getting a spearman out of that one. You just want to defend with those spearmen, with those free units, a couple of bonus spearmen then. And after that, you can just transition into Mass Jugenu. Behind that, since you're going to be in Song Dynasty, you're also going to be able to get a really, really nice and smooth farm transition out. You don't necessarily have to move out onto the map. It's not something that's really necessary with Shushi's Legacy. And what we also see here is that Divine is going to be going for a 2TC build with Shushi's Legacy.
Indeed, he's moving on to stone. He is coming in with the Jiangnan Tower as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind on this map is that the players only spawn with 1 safe gold mine, and that usually spawns at the front of their base. So, for Divine, securing additional resources is a big thing with that second town center, and Baltune is looking to deny that with the initial knights that will come out.
Yeah, what this initial knight at least is going to do, it's going to dictate where Divine is going to be able to place a second TC. So he's not going to be able to place it far outside of his own base. He's going to have to place it somewhere safe. Maybe just directly next to his TC or in the back of his base. But if you place it further outside, what also plays into that is that the second TCs have been nerfed for all civilizations. They do less damage now. They're able to house less units, and they have less range as well. What that means is second TCs on an open space, they're going to be very, very tough to defend. And the French,
certainly.
with their timing sieve, they're definitely going to be able to grass onto a second TC.
First knight on the way. This has been tracked by Divine's initial scout. Baltune is going heavy on eco upgrades behind this. He's got wheelbarrow, as you expect, but there is also double broadaxe. We likely will be seeing some archers coming out, and maybe even a ram push early on to try and break this very eco-heavy build from Jushi.
Second TC now also coming in. Knight is running around the wood line. Not finding a villager here right now. Is idling out a little bit. Now second TC. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very safe position here. Divine not risking that second TC. Being in an open position. And there we go. Really, really early granary being built as well. Talked about that earlier. Just the very heavy wood discount that you get with Jushi's Legacy in the Song Dynasty means that you can go for very early farm transition. Very similar to what the English would do.
Indeed, and that's exactly the plan here for Divine. There isn't really a lot of safe food on this map for the players, so going for that early farm transition kind of sets you up well when it comes to the food eco. And there's Baltune coming in with a tower. That tower should shut down the berries, the gold, even denies the hunt. But I think the only thing that's relevant here for Divine is going to be the gold. He's going to have safe food. He does have safe wood. Lack of access to gold could be a problem, though.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he is getting 60 gold per minute from his meditation garden, which is quite nice. But look at that. Baltune also moving out now with some villagers, getting an outpost out. I think this is probably a correct play right now. Just being able to, like, these situations where you can't be everywhere with your military, instead just having an outpost there. So you're able to statically put pressure on a resource.
Yeah, Baltune spreading out his troops now. Knights trying to harass the lumberjacks and the farmers, denying one side of the granary. Whereas on the other side, archers are shutting down the gold income. Divine seems unconcerned about this, though. And I'm wondering if the plan here is just a mix of palace guards, feudal age palace guards those are, and some spearmen. I actually wonder if that's the plan for Divine.
Palace got some spearmen. He's getting some spearmen out now. Definitely is going to need them, but the archers are already going to be a nice answer here now to those. And yeah, the farm economy is looking nice so far for Divine. Gets a couple of farms out. The Atmos just looking around right now, seeing if there's any damage to be done. Yeah, Outpost is going to finish up now.
It's remarkable how unconcerned Divine looks like, just with all this pressure surrounding his base. He's just chilling back at home, has 2 spearmen. At the same time, he did not lose a single villager despite being under so much pressure.
He's also getting an outpost up now. Now these outposts are also reducing costs. Instead of 100 wood, they're only gonna cost 60 wood. And that Baltune, he's just messing up more and more of these French knights. And what's good here for him is that with French, he's also producing villages faster out of his 1TC. So he's not gonna get immediately left behind by as much of a margin as he would be with other civilizations when it comes to the villager count. Yeah, Divine, he's still investing a lot into these farms. So as soon as Baltune feels like he's got enough knights to push in, it's going to be very hard for Divine to hold this. But the amount of outposts that he's getting out is definitely going to help him here with that. Hand cannons also coming in.
That's annoying here for Divine. He needs that supervision for the extra resources. He needs that supervision to produce Chukanu now, because now he's going very heavy on Chukanu, and this was spotted by Baltune.
Yeah, the free stone here from Divine that he's getting through Meditation Garden, it's going to help him a lot when it comes to being able to get these hand cannon placements up. Basically, every 2 minutes, he's getting enough stone for free to get a hand cannon placement up. He's also still getting all of that passive gold, so even with Baltune being out here and denying the gold, with the tax and with the Meditation Garden, Divine is actually getting enough gold here to be able to afford blacksmith upgrades as well as Jugunu production.
Yeah, Chukunu numbers are now increasing, and we're getting to the domain where Divine will be able to overpower Baltune. Baltune does not have a single battering ram to punish this very condensed base with. And I feel like he no longer has that power to just take a straight up fight against Divine's forces.
Divine right now also walling off the other side, further condensing his space in. And looks like the blacksmith upgrade is actually going to get denied here now by Baltune, which is going to be very nice for him. Shield Arrow, the main upgrade that you want to be getting with the Shuganu, now has been denied. Another outpost coming on for Divine. I think he wants to have enough outposts to be able to secure every single villager inside of them should a raid start happening.
Yeah, Baltune. 10 knights, 16 archers against 16 Chuganu on the other side. And now we have triple ranges producing those Chukunu. Baltune is actually falling back, which is always a bad sign for a French player. You want to be dictating the tempo, you're down by 10 eco now. You need to make something happen, but this space is so condensed from Divine that Divine didn't allow Baltune to accomplish anything with this early aggression.
Indeed. And now the farm transition, look at that. It's pretty much complete now. 2 granaries here, and Divine, he's getting a lot of food right now. 700 food per minute. With that, he's actually got more food right now than Baltune has. And Baltune, he's out on the map. He's gathering from deer, which are supposed to have like this very, very fast gather rate going for them. Overall, Divine looking in a very, very solid position right now. Baltune not too far behind right now when it comes to villagers, only behind by 8. Considering that second TC has been up for rather 5 minutes by now. It looks like the first battering ram is going to be coming in now, but 26 Shuganu out already right now.
Yeah, that number is rising rapidly. Divine also mixing in quite a few spearmen. And he's just gotten the attack upgrade on those, at least the archers, the Chukunu. So I think he's getting ready to move out here. And let's not forget, a lot of the food eco here is out in the middle right now for Baltune. He's actually actively taking some of this deer. Oh, that looks like he only has a handful of vills. But if he gets counterattacked and he gets confined into his own base, he could be in trouble. And he's now investing very heavily into battering rams. You feel like if this push stalls out, Divine's going to have a very dominant position in this game.
And now 2 rams are out. I'm not sure how many rams Baltune thinks he needs here. What he can do is he can attack onto these villages. And in a base that is as condensed as Divine's is, as soon as he takes down the village, Divine isn't going to be able to produce any more units until he gets another village up. So that should definitely be the plan here. Behind all of that, more outposts coming up with hand cannon placements. Looks like Baltune wants to attack from the top side where all the farms are. Could be nice for him. There's a market as well. There he goes. Yeah, looks like he's now starting to attack. Here we go.
A lot of Chukunu to fight against, a couple of towers as well. Rams being held back. Chukunu helping out a lot against those Rams. Scout gets picked off way too easily to start with. But Divine is not ready to fight this, you feel. He's just trying to kite back and forth. Does a lot of damage to many of these Knights. Knights never really able to hit any of the Chukunu. And this choke point is looking so grim now for Baltune. He is diving in, he's running into the Spearman, but the Knights are so heavily damaged. First tower goes down, battering ram is now rolling forward. But numbers starting to swing in the favor of Divine here. Knights just disappearing from the field. And the Town Center fire, supported by the tower fire, helps a lot to these Chukunu to clean this force up. I feel like Divine is going to have what it takes to hold this.
Yeah, it looks like it. There's just too many units out right now. Baltune, he waited a little bit too long with the engagement. Now Divine has a better economy than he does. And most of the Knights just disappear now. A couple of the farms have been taken down. But overall, just not enough value gained from the looks of it. And now Baltune, he has to fall back. I definitely would have preferred to see Baltune just start hitting the village first, especially on this condensed space. Now the Rams are also getting taken down. That's a lot of value lost. Look at the destruction value here.
Lost indeed. And when you look at the destroyed value, it's heavily in the favor of Divine. He does have a 13 eco lead as well. It's now archers against Chukunu only. Numbers looking a lot better for Divine. I think he has held this, and we talked about this, Crackedy. If this push stalls out for French, they are in a terrible spot, and that's exactly what Baltune thinks as well. He's going to tap out, and it is Divine who secures game number 1. A super defensive game he has played, but he has done so in a really spectacular fashion.
Indeed, indeed. Look at that. We can already see the draft now for our next game that is going to be coming up. And it's going to be on Prairie with Mongols against Malians. This was just a very straightforward game, which is why I'm not really talking too much about it right now. It was just the boom happened, the boom wasn't stopped, it paid off, and that was GG at that point in time. But yeah, looks like we're just jumping in immediately into our next game now in the set. And there we go. In the color red, we got Baltune playing as the Malians, and on the opposite side, we got Divine in the color blue playing as the Mongols, and we're here on Prairie.
Super open map here. This is not a map where Divine will be able to pull off the same very defensive and eco-focused strategy that he did in the previous game. But he doesn't even have a civilization like Jushi in the previous game. He does have the Mongols. We know early game aggressive civilization can put a lot of pressure on some of these pit mines, and that's definitely step number one here for the Mongols in this matchup. We know how terrifying Malians are once they get to that early mid castle age stage. Mongols need to make something happen before that.
Yeah, I think so too. Mongols, they do have all the tools for that, and I think... never mind. For a second, I thought Divine was doing the... what I would say correct thing would be tower rushing here on this map with the Mongols, especially against a civilization like the Malians. You're going to be able to destroy the pit mine from the other side of the gold. But looks like Divine, he's just going to be going for a straight up feudal age, not even thinking about going for a tower rush here. Very likely just going to be a trade boom, I feel like, from Divine.
That is an intriguing option, but I love it. Here's the thing. Back in the past, against Malians, you kind of disliked the trade boom because they went very frequently onto professional and warrior scouts, and the warrior scouts can just pick off your traders. But recently, Malians wanted to focus very heavily on building up cattle and the Grand Fulani Corral, playing a defensive game with some donzos and javelin throwers, and that's something that you can exploit with a greedy trade, beat them to Castle Age, and then leverage that trade to flood units before they can. I think this can work as long as Baltune isn't going to punish any of the trade with some warrior scouts.
The warrior scouts could be an option here for sure, but as I said, most players right now with the Malians, they're just going for that cattle boom, and I mean the cattle boom, just being the thing that it is, it pays off so quickly. I think a fast castle from the Malians could definitely be an option. Maybe you start off with a couple of donzos and some javelin throwers, maybe in response to what the Mongol player might be going for. And if you have those units out, you might as well try to annoy the trade a little bit with them. There's definitely plenty of options. I think with the Malians, you have timing windows both in Feudal Age and in Castle Age, even if you don't deny the trade immediately in Feudal Age, to be able to work against them. Looking at the map right now, though, this is Prairie that we're speaking about. And on Prairie, there tend to be a ton of sheep. But I'm looking at the Khan from Divine right now. I don't see any sheep following him.
He managed to take a couple of them back at home, but look at this. This is why you don't see many trailing the Khan of Divine. Boy, Baltune secured 25 sheep for himself.
Call him the shepherd because he's bringing him home, and yeah, that's a good sheep bonus there. Divine on the other side, he's got 10. It's not few, but it's not many either.
Silver Tree on the way for Divine. Indeed, he wants to trade. And on Prairie, the trading posts spawn in the corners, so it's a pretty straightforward trade for any player wanting to go for that. On the other side, Mansa Quarry is coming in for Baltune. And I'm really wondering if he's going to go into any kind of unit production early on, or this is just going to be a full cattle-based build. I feel like we're just going to see cattle Crackedy, and that is probably a build that's very prone to being overrun by a trade build.
Yeah, trade build, like trade boom and like mass Kashyyyks could be very dangerous. But then again, the Malians, they do get the Donzo, and if there's any unit that is like quote-unquote OP against cavalry, it has to be the Donzo. I think Baltune definitely is going to have a potential answer if it gets to that. Market has been spotted. Silver Tree is now complete as well. Divine also grabbed the upgrade so that his market is going to be on its way a little bit faster. Rather, it's currently in queue. Only going to be a little bit until that market is going to be zooming away at max speed. Stable is also coming up right now from Divine, so it is very likely going to be that trade boom with Kashix behind it.
And I like this a lot. I think the issue going full trade without any feudal age presence when it comes to units is that by the time you start pumping out your units, so will the Malians. But if you get some Kashix on the field, you will have a lot of map control, and you will also be able to put a lot of pressure on those pit mines, assuming you can deploy your stable, which is something that the Baltune is trying to prevent.
All right, Scout just slightly wasn't in position there to block that stable from going out. Stable does get dropped indeed. And with that, first double production of Kashix probably on its way. Gonna be able to get that nice 2-for-1 deal with those Lancers. And now we're gonna be seeing not a barracks coming out first. Instead, it's gonna be an archery range immediately. I think Baltune, he immediately saw that his opponent is also building an archery range on top of the Kashix, on top of the stable. So if he's just getting javelin throwers out, with enough of them out, he'll be able to deal both with the Kashix and the archers at the same time.
Yeah, that's a big thing with the javelin throwers. When you have that critical mass, because they have such a long range, they can be very effectively used to kite away from many units, and they do have a great damage output. So as you said, they can even pick off smaller groups of Kashyyyk. And if that's not enough, then you can still mix in a couple of Donsos, which can also throw their javelins once. So that's something that can help take down some of those Kashyyyk as well.
Indeed, and now Kashyyyks make their way across the map. Looking for some value. Baltune's got the first couple of javelin throws in queue now. But yeah, those villagers on gold will probably have to be evacuated here soon by Baltune. There we go. Villagers do get pulled. And the Kashyyyks are probably just going to start trying to burn down some of the houses. Either that, or they might be going onto the wood line. The wood lines on this map are typically very thin and can be easily harassed early on. And look at the army count that Divine already has going for himself right now. With the double production, he's already got 6 archers out, 2 Kashyyyks, and more Kashyyyks in the queue.
And that has to be step number 1 here. You gotta put some pressure on the Malian player, start pushing those pit mines, and double production helps you a lot with this. Some archers out, some Kashyyyk as well, but Baltune has a very safe production for the time being. It's going to be hard to pick off any villagers. Really, the only place where you could attack him would be on the gold mine.
They're still running around here, trying to get a villager kill. Villager might be going down, low HP. Khan snipes it. First villager of the game going down. Kashyyyk, though, low HP.
I would love to see Divine moving out towards a board, just like he moved, or just like Baltune moved out on Hunt the previous game. I feel like he's got all the map control, and he needs to leverage that as much as possible. Because right now, Baltune is still okay. He lost a villager, but he does have a pit mine working. He does have the Monster Quarry for the passive gold income as well. And he does have a lot of cattle working already. So the eco, when you look at it, it's perfectly functional for a player so confined in his base.
Yeah, and we might be looking at the economy numbers right now. And it looks like Divine has a little bit of a lead. He's going to have more of a lead now that 2 more villagers are going down. But it's a little bit misleading because behind all of that, Baltune also has a lot of cattle going out for him right now. And the cattle are going to be providing him with 28 food per minute, which is equivalent to like 80% of a villager. So every single cattle there does provide a good bunch of bonus food for him.
Yeah,
with all of what's
been
going on, I think it's even.
Is lack of wood for Baltune. And this could be an awkward position. This is a big difference between playing this civilization matchup on Dry Arabia and playing this on Prairie. Now, Malians aren't super reliant on wood, but it's definitely something that can slow down this cattle expansion specifically. And as you see, the primary wood line for Baltune is pretty much depleted. And now we have a tower coming up here for Divine to continuously aggress this angle. I feel like if Divine wants to make something happen, it might have to come through wood denial.
Yeah, at the same time, though, Baltune now has more military units out, and he also has more army value out than Divine has. And now he should be in a position to, if he needs to, move out onto the map and get wood that way. And all of that, Divine, he's got the eco boom right now with the trade going for him. Baltune's got the cow boom. Question's gonna be what in the end is gonna be stronger here long term. Has to be the trade. but there is going to be a timing window with that cattle boom where Baltune can make something happen. Some outposts going up here.
Yeah, I feel like Divine is just not doing enough here. And sure, he's getting away with the trade, but at the same time, Baltune is getting all these passive sources of resources, and those will be extremely difficult to raid once we get to like late Feudal Age, early Castle Age, whereas Divine's trade is going to be awfully exposed to counterattacks.
And once again, moving on to that wood line. Looks like he's also trying to get another outpost in range of the gold mine from Baltune going soon. Kashik going down. I think now Divine has to be really, really careful. If a fight breaks out now, Baltune is definitely going to be the victor of that one. We're also at that point in time where the Uvu double production is not going to be as big of a factor anymore.
Yeah, I feel like we're entering the Malian domain here. It's this position where they once again have this oppressive combination of the javelin throwers and the Dunsos. And now, as you said, I don't think Divine can afford to take an engagement. Best thing he could possibly do is confine his opponent into his base, which is usually a good thing against most civilizations, but it's simply insufficient against Malians.
Yeah, looking at the income right now, Baltune, he's sitting at roughly 1600 resource per minute. Divine, it's pretty similar with 1500 resource per minute. The issue is that as soon as Baltune gets up to the castle age, his food income is basically going to double.
400 food per minute for Divine, other side 900 for Baltune. Food income is much better for Divine, same, well, gold income is kind of identical. Blacksmith upgrades now on the side of Baltune as well. And all of these javelin throwers have a massive range, so they can do a lot of damage to those javelins, even, or to those Kashik, even from a distance.
Oh, some good damage coming out there. Divine losing a couple of Kashiks here now. He's still creeping up with the outposts onto the gold mine here. Oh, Baltune able to deny that before the emplacement comes in from the additional outpost there. And he's getting very close to Castle Age now as well.
I just don't think this is enough from Divine. He's doing the right thing, but it's just an inferior build compared to so much passive resource income from Malians. I feel like maybe there was a need for higher pressure on the gold mine, because Baltune got away with all this gold having been mined, and he was able to get so many of these gold-heavy javelin throwers out there. In fact, he had so much gold that he could even go up to Castle Age and have a resource bank of 500 at this point.
Now, that's going to be enough units in order to get that outpost down. And even the other outpost as well with it. Just keeps a single unit there for now. Yeah, there's going to be a fight happening soon here, I feel like. Probably before the upgrades are coming in. And I think now Divine probably wants to be diving. Does decide against it, though. There's still too many units out. And now Baltune is getting all the upgrades, all the veterancy upgrades immediately. With that Divine, he's going to have to look at Castle Age of his own here at some point in time. Might be a little bit difficult for him, though.
I mean, difficult is an understatement. He's sitting at 300 food per minute at this point. It would take him 3 to 4 minutes just to get the food he needs to get up to Castle Age. Looks like his food eco is getting into a slightly better shape, but still, takes so much time for him to get to Castle. And by the time he does, he's gonna be overwhelmed, because now Baltune has gotten the Castle Age upgrades. He's also mixing in some Musafari warriors. He's cleaning up the towers, and we're entering this very powerful window of the Malians, where they have this deadly combination of infantry that no one can deal with.
German Pro is able to do a good amount of damage now onto the Kashiks with every single shot. Kashiks getting taken down now. Han potentially getting taken down. Does get taken down indeed. Now the only issue here is that Baltune has a slower military and he can't move out immediately. So he can't immediately think about denying the trade, which is still going for Divine behind all of this. And Divine is actually getting up to that point where he gets able to go to Castle Age. And he's able to get there because he's able to buy food with all of that wood income, all of that gold income that he gets. Definitely able to go for that. Oh, some archers moving in here. Villagers pull back in time. Definitely needs an outpost there as well.
Yeah, there's the outpost coming in. You're right about this. And let's not forget, Divine has an eco lead of 24, which is mostly offset by the Grand Flani Corral and the food eco plus the passive gold. But as you said, he's able to buy himself a lot of food here, so he lives to see another day. And because Baltune's army is slow moving, Divine could use those Kashik to punish if Baltune moves out of his base. So for the time being, Divine is gonna be fine. He also has a Kurotai, which will make it much more difficult for Baltune to take good fights nearby. Nice raid.
Villager gets taken down, but more military units get sniped for it as well. Baltune, he's got a lot of food in the bank right now. Also has a lot of units in the queue. I think this is probably the best point in time for him to think about maybe going into some sofas as well. Just to have a more mobile unit out on the map and be able to deny the trade. The thing with trade is that it's very much unprotected most of the time. And if Baltune gets into the position once to be able to take it down and deny it, it's going to be very tough to get that back again. And now Raid coming in here.
Raid.
On those wood villagers.
It's starting to be problematic for Baltune. Sure enough, he's got great food and gold income, but he's losing out on a lot of lumberjacks here. Tower is still incomplete. He's down by 30 workers at this point. As you said, the trade is always going to be exposed, but as much as it is possible, Divine is doing a great job just punishing any kind of expansion from Baltune's base.
And the age up for Divine has come in. The upgrades are already on their way. But right now, he doesn't have that big of an army mass, and I feel like the military from Baltune that's moving towards the market here...
Ooh, that's ugly.
That might be enough to kill a lot of traders in this one.
If Divine loses his traders, it probably is all over for him. In fact, army numbers aren't looking fancy for him by any means. And now, here come the Javelin Throwers, shutting down the trade. Divine has a massive equal lead, at least nominally. But if he loses out on the traders, every single factor in this game is going to be favoring Baltune. So many traders getting picked off here. Kurotai is rolling up, but even with the Kurotai buff, we're looking at 8 archers and 4 Kashik against a bunch of Javelin Throwers, which hard counter the archers. I think Divine no longer has the army that's capable of fighting this.
And now the Kashyyyks do try to clean up the Javelin Throws. They may be successful with doing so as well. Doesn't have the +2 ranged armor upgrade yet, though. But yeah, they're actually doing a decent amount of damage to the Kashyyyks as well. Micro coming in. Baltune microing those Kashyyyks down. Doing a good job doing so. And look at that. Javelins. Gonna be able to survive here.
Yeah, so many traders are now going down here. Villagers also getting caught. Divine is doing a decent job cleaning this up, but new and new waves are just approaching again and again. There's a second wave coming through the middle as well, kind of taking this position where the Kurotai was originally positioned. And the gap between the two armies is still there. 47 army against 16. Army value triple, more than triple actually for Baltune. And he keeps picking off many of these traders before the Javelin Throwers finally get cleaned up.
Yeah, a lot of Kashyyyks went down for that destruction value. Looking at that, Baltune, he's killed 6,000 units worth of resources. He's looking to be in a very good position now. More Musafati warriors coming out as well, and with that combination, the man-at-arms that Divine has been making so far, they're going to be completely useless. Sofa's also in production now. I feel like at this point in time, it might just be over completely. Divine also has no food income whatsoever right now.
It's just looking very grim right now for him. 95 population against 100, but the army is just not there. And he simply no longer has the tools to protect that trade with. You need both of those markets, and that trade path is going to be cut in half in a second. Now Javelin Throwers moving in to kill the villagers. Musafati warriors also having been mixed in. And this is just not a fight that Divine can take. Even if he does, it's going to be awfully inefficient. And I don't think he can afford that lack of efficiency anymore. Khan gets picked off, Kashyyyk also disappear, and this should be a decisive win here for Baltune in this engagement.
Man-at-arms also getting taken down. Now Javelin Throws aren't focusing the archers at the moment, and the archers are doing a great job of taking down those Musafati warriors. So the trade out here isn't as good as it could have been. Kurotai now also gets deployed. I think Baltune definitely has to be careful with potentially overstaying his welcome and the army composition as well. He's now making more sofas once again. That's definitely one unit that he's going to need here. If he's getting the sofas in with the imported armor, I don't think, like right now, there's nothing that Divine has countered at, and now it's just javelins against archers remaining, and that's the counter unit, straight up.
Yeah, as you said, it's the sofas that will swing this, and we already have 7 of them on the field. Something that Divine has absolutely no response to. With imported armor, they will soak up a lot of arrow fire. And this is where Divine's defense breaks. just nothing left on the playing field. And there's just no way back into this game with no standing army. Baltune very close to evening the series out, riding that very powerful Malian combination that we see dominate so many tournament games.
Exactly. Now, the trade is going to be completely disrupted. Divine still not giving up yet. But it's only going to be a matter of time as 31 economy units so far have been killed, and with that trade being completely idled, Divine doesn't have the income to get another standing army up.
Yeah, he's getting picked apart at this point. Eco going down, 35 eco lost against 10 on the other side. And again, no standing army for Divine. He finally taps out, and with that, Baltune makes it even Steven, gets back into the series, makes the score 1-1.
Yeah, I think this is the beautiful timing that we talked about earlier, just for the Malians being able to get that timing, even with the trade boom going for Divine. As soon as the cattle boom hits Castle Age with that Grand Falani Corral, you're just suddenly getting so much food in immediately that you're able to pump out a lot of military units. And Divine, he just didn't manage, as he said, to get the value that he needed to in the feudal age. I think it kind of comes down to Divine just downright choosing not to do anything in Dark Age at all. That's like the great strength from the Mongols. And especially on an open map like Prairie, getting an outpost up maybe behind the wood line of your opponent or next to the gold pit mine of your opponent, that gives you so much tempo and such a big advantage potentially. I'm a little bit surprised that Divine just chose to go for a straight up feudal age.
It's a tough call, right? I guess he didn't want to delay his own feudal age and trade build-up. But as a consequence, as you said, the early game build of the Malians wasn't thrown off by any means. And we just looked at one of those games where Malians come in and say, okay, we have a Juggernaut Eco, we're just going to ride it. With that being said, game number 3 is ready to go. It is going to be on the first home map of Divine, that is Cliffside. And we have an old school civilization matchup over here. English for Divine, one of his favorite civilizations. And on the other side, for Baltune, he is going to have the Ottomans. Into game number 3 we go. It's one apiece right now in this quarterfinal set in the qualifiers of the EGC 2023 finals. Down south, it's Divine playing as the English in blue. And to the north, it's going to be Baltune playing as the Ottomans in red.
And here we go. Yeah, I mean, English, they do historically tend to be a little bit favored against the Ottomans when it comes to the army compositions that they get access to in the feudal age. They have those men-at-arms and the lumbermen, a very, very strong army composition. And Ottomans, they do tend to be the one that want to be the aggressor in a matchup. But English, just such a strong defensive civilization, can be very hard to push into them. Gonna be interesting to see how these players are gonna be playing it out. Now we're gonna be playing on Cliffside, one of the new maps in the Sultan's Ascent DLC. We do see it. It's a little bit reminiscent of some of the Lipany spawns that players have seen in the past so far. You got like this very large amount of cliffs in the middle of the map, which is also just surrounded by a ton of gold mines, stone mines, all of that, all of those resources. And with that, players definitely want to take control over the middle of the map, over that middle part of the map, and get access to that gold, because all the gold is towards the middle here.
That's a big factor indeed, but one of the key things that we always got to look at with this map is the distance to cover between the players. And for both of these civilizations, that's immensely valuable. These are known to be aggressive civilizations, so not having to walk all across the map to get to the opponent's base just increases their abilities to do early damage, both when it comes to the longbow play of the English, and both when it comes to this Sipahi archer combination that we commonly see from the Ottomans.
Exactly. And now Ajab is going to be coming in. We're going to be seeing the Twin Men in Red Madras from the Ottomans, as we usually do. Great food landmark. Is going to make sure that the Ottomans aren't going to be running out of food anytime soon. Villagers also moving out to the stone mine. Now, the reason why we don't typically see a military school opening coming out from the Ottomans against the English, it's because the English villagers, they do have those short bows, so you don't want to make spearmen against them, because they can just be killed by those villagers immediately. And looking at that, looks like Divine is going to be going for a multi-TC kind of playstyle here. Already has 2 villagers on that stone mine. and only building the landmark with 2, so this is typical for a 2 TC play.
Yeah, I honestly like the 2 TCs here. I don't think that the Ottomans can break an English defense early on, and they do benefit from a longer game because of the military schools. So there's a lot of legitimacy in playing 2 TCs. At the same time, Stone is being gathered by Divine as well, so we might see double 2 TCs actually.
Yeah, it could definitely be the case. I mean, Divine is the kind of player to not shy away from going for like a triple TC English build into Fast Castle without making any units at all. That's definitely something that he is known for. But yeah, so far, the question's going to be, can he hold against Baltune's aggression with the Ottomans? Or rather, what is Baltune's idea going to be here for this game? We've also seen Ottoman going for a lot of fast Imperial builds recently. That might still be a thing to consider, potentially, just because you get access to those great bombards, and against a player that utilizes defensive infrastructure like Divine, having a great bombard definitely feels like a good thing to have.
Interesting idea. I didn't even think about that. I feel like with the distance to cover between the 2 players being so small, it's way too risky for Baltune. For now, he's just going to open military schools, fairly slow opening for him. And on the other side, Divine, he's going to play 2 DCs. He does have some lovely DC spots, especially the one to the southeast of his base, with the wood and the hunt nearby. But he could also maybe expand towards the boar even, although that's pretty far away. I'm actually curious where he's going to place his second DC at.
I mean, we've talked about it. TCs, they're not really that great anymore to secure outsourced resources. So I think knowing Divine, it's probably just going to be right next to his gold mine. I think he might even delete his mining camp on his gold mine and just place the TC there instead. I think that I would be surprised if we see something else from Divine. That's usually what he does. And now he's up to next age. Villagers are moving out. I didn't drop off all the stone. There we go. And he did indeed delete his mining camp on his gold mine. So that's going to be where that second TC is going to get placed. That's going to allow for a couple of farms to go in between his TC and the secondary TC. Being in the back, it's going to be very hard to attack that. So yeah, I think this is going to be his 2 TC, or maybe even... It's very likely just going to stick to 2 TC and then into Fast Castle with the White Tower. I would be surprised if it's something else. So far, yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of units coming out, usually just because that White Tower helps you with defending your base completely once it comes out. And it's already difficult to push into the English base.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just such a decent setup that Divine can have. He goes heavy on the eco, goes up the cost ledge with the White Tower. That unlocks a lot of quick production potential for him. So he has this opportunity to put the strong eco he has into good use by quickly training an army with the White Tower. At the same time, Baltune will take some time until he builds up his numbers with the military schools. It looks like he's just going to stick with 1 DC, so it's only military schools that he's going for. Means that he needs to make something happen early, otherwise he's going to find himself heavily outnumbered when it comes to the eco.
Yeah, indeed. Now, an option here for Baltune, and it looks like he's macroing towards that, is going to be going for that fast castle of his own. Only going to get units out through those military schools. What he's able to do with that is, with the Vizier point for the Imams, he's going to be able to immediately get 2 religious units out on the field and gather up all of the relics that are on the map. That could definitely be an option here for him.
I think, especially based on game number 1 and how Divine played it when he played 2 TCs, he played super defensive, basically no army, and Baltune wasn't able to crack that defense with aggression. So, as you said, one of the ways to counter this is rushing up to castle, getting all those relics for yourself, and then you will have access to costlage premium units. You will start getting those mangonels out using the Imperial Armory. You'll also get some premium troops like Lancers and Men-at-Arms out, and you could then play very aggressive and try to prevent Divine from even getting to castle age.
I think an additional strategy here might be to just immediately go into the sacred sites. And if you go on the sacred sites immediately, what you're doing is you're going to be forcing a defensive player like Divine to have to play an aggressive game. Because if he ignores the sacred sites, you're just going to be able to get that victory condition in. Now the Imams are going to be moving out onto those relics. It's going to immediately be able to secure 2 of them as soon as that castle age hits, and the Mammoth Imperial Army is well on its way right now. Divine also grabbing the economy upgrades behind all of this, so it's going to be a while until he reaches the next age. Farm transition also well on its way already.
I feel like when he sees Castle Age from his opponent, he might expedite his journey towards Castle. He has about 600 food per minute, 300 gold, so it doesn't take a lot of time for him to get the resources he needs. But as you said, there is going to be a head start here for Baltune, and he's going to capitalize on that by taking away the relics. He's actually focusing on the ones that are the closest to Divine's base. So there's a legitimate chance that Baltune can get away with all 5 relics here in this game.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a lot of gold income. That only makes up for roughly 10 villagers, though, when you get all 5 relics. And right now, Baltune's already behind by 7, which is only going to increase further here. And we can't forget that the farms from English, they're also working faster than normal farms. So the economy from Divine, it's going to be very, very strong here. Age Up comes in. With that, 2 relics going to be captured immediately.
Yeah, Divine is now rushing Castle himself. He's waiting for those resources to pile up, but by the time that happens, his opponent should have the majority of the relics, and it's not like Divine has much of a map control either. He's facing some Sipahi, and it's going to be direct crossbows from Baltune, so he's probably expecting Lancers from Divine from the White Tower.
Yeah, those are usually the units that we do see from Divine when he goes for that landmark. Longbowmen and Lancers. The Longbowmen are still going to be doing great against the Crossbowmen, but the Mangonel that's coming out from the MIA as well is definitely going to help. Not sure where that Imam is going to go. There we go. Now he finds the monastery. The mosque right next to him. Now the White Tower is going to be built here. Right next to that main TC. Very nice and defensive. Lots of villagers building that one. Wants to make sure that he's getting that one up as soon as possible. The villagers get idled out for a moment.
Yeah, White Tower is going to complete here. There is no doubt in that. It's once again a super condensed base here for Divine. Everything is just so tightly packed. He can afford to do this with English farming for the time being. But Baltune has been leveraging map control. In fact, he added a 3rd Imam, so he can quickly pick up all the relics before his opponent would be able to take any of those.
Yeah, 3 relics already on the way to Baltune's base. Sacred sites haven't been touched yet. Now we do see some crossbow also coming out from Divine, so maybe it's going to be a crossbow and men-at-arms build, as he does have a barracks up as well. Crossbow, you can make them really, really quickly with the English, with the White Tower, since you're not just getting the double production from that landmark, but also double production from the Council Hall.
Indeed, that's a big thing. There is a rapid build-up here for Divine compared to Baltune. Baltune is getting most of his forces from slow production, but that's consistent with the military scores. Whereas for Divine, his escalation is a lot more rapid, with the Council Hall and the White Tower both having a massive buff when it comes to military production.
Doesn't look like it's gonna be a fast Imperial Age from Baltune, as he just dropped a ton of production buildings. 2 stables, 2 archery ranges. Also getting a little bit more stone now for another military school. Now we see the crossbowmen for Divine coming out, but the Mangonel is already there. Crossbows have to pull back. Yeah, 15 villager difference right now. Now, the 15 villager difference isn't as big if you consider that behind all of that, Baltune also has a lot of these, a lot of the military schools out as well, which also bring you in units.
And
the relic there, which has been scouted.
Yeah. Oh, this is beautiful though. Ground attacking the position of the supposed position of those villagers. In case Divine was chopping that wood line, he would actually suffer from a lot of damage over there. 4th relic is going to be brought in here as well by Baltune, and as you said, he's down by 17 villagers, but he does have the relics, and he does have a lot of free units provided to him by the military schools.
Indeed. Crossbowman forced that villager back that was trying to build that outpost. Oh, he is going for it again. Very likely to go up, and behind all of that, sacred sites are being captured. which is going to definitely be putting a timer on Divine now. He's going to have to get something done here sooner rather than later. And it's going to be difficult for him to secure resources outside of the range of like his main kind of base. Springald has been produced.
Up here. There's a Springald from Divine. So with a good fight here, he can take this out quickly, but the Mangonel does get a beautiful volley. Springald just chilling at the back line. A lot of damage taken there by Divine.
An outpost being built here on the side. It's at Baltune. He wants to get vision on wherever. Oh, look at that. That's a big forward keep. I'm not sure if this is a good decision, though. Because right now, Divine actually has more units than Baltune does. And the White Tower acting as a siege workshop means that, yeah, Divine can just get some counterweight trebuchets out.
I feel like Baltune just wants to finish this game quickly here. He's got 3 Sacred Sites as well. But he probably knows that his opponent, well, he knows that his opponent was on 2 TCs, doesn't want to wait a lot longer. He dives into the Spearman with the Sipahi. Sipahi quickly taken out by the Spearman and the crossbows on the back line. Castle does get replaced to a much more passive position.
Oh, replaced once again. But this might be in line of sight of what Divine sees. Yeah, the TC is firing onto it.
Can he
Divine
stop it,
spots
though?
that one out. He's moving
Divine
towards
has
it.
a lot of injured units here. I don't think he can stop this.
He grouped up with his Springald as well. That's going to delay it a little bit. There's no additional Mangonel out on the field yet, though. Actually, there is. Never mind. I lied.
And that's a beautiful volley out there. Springald might not have line of sight on the Mangonel. Villagers fleeing. Castle close to completion. Mangonel fire once again coming in beautiful. Gets some picks. Finally, Springald pushes away the Mangonel. The castle still being constructed here. Now Divine is picking off villagers, though, and Baltune is down to 33. I think he can stop this, Crackedy.
He can. He's got a Mangonel now as well. All of the units are going down here now for Baltune. No more villagers remaining. That is a GG keep, but not the one that you want.
I kind of said this a moment ago. I thought this is going to be either a win the game or to lose the game keep. It was very aggressive by Baltune. Now he lost all the villagers. 17 villagers gone. He's going to try to rally some more troops here, but it's going to come way too late. And now with a Mangonel set up for Divine, he's never going to let this castle be finished.
There's a scout there as well. He's going to be able to see these villagers early. Doesn't have enough stone right now to rebuild that keep. And what's the game plan now? He's lost 17 villagers in a game where Divine went for a second TC. And he lost the military fight as well. I think he could have just placed that keep on the sacred side and been fine like that. Now he's not going to be able to contain Divine anymore. Divine now has the military and the economy lead.
Everything is falling apart for Baltune over here. He's got 1,700 gold in the bank, but as you said, his eco is just absolutely catastrophic. And of course, you're getting a lot of free units here from the military schools, but they take time to build up. Army numbers now looking a lot better for Divine. And Divine knows that his opponent is in a very troublesome spot. He's going to start marching up hills over here, decap the sacred side, and then start assaulting those monasteries that hold all the relics on the opposing side.
Yeah. And this is not a fight that Baltune can win. Mangonel shot also doing huge damage to the crossbows there. And with that Springald going down, with that sacred side being decapped, I think it's just about GG now. And there we go.
Indeed, it is. Baltune, he tried playing this super aggressive here, dropping a keep in the enemy base, but it just did not work out. And it is Divine who once again holds, second time in the series that we see the same tendency from Divine. Very eco-heavy, very defensive, and Baltune wasn't able to crack those defenses in either of these games.
Yeah, it looked like he had the potential there to go for it. Yeah, it's just the key placement. I think the best idea there would have been for him, even at the start of Castle Age, I would have much preferred for him to go for the sacred sites first and then take relics. Just because you want to get that timer going on your opponent as soon as possible. Then you want to secure those sacred sites with keeps, and once you get there, I think the second TC from Divine isn't going to be paying off in time in order to be able to take back those sacred sites. It was very close though. Like if that keep would have gone up, Divine would have been in a very, very dangerous position. Probably not in the most dangerous position, considering that he basically has like double siege workshops, but definitely would have put pressure on him. That TC, that keep though not going up means that Baltune is definitely going to be losing that game, and with that, we're going to be looking at another game here soon, as now Divine is going to be leading with a 2-1.
Indeed, 2-1 for Divine here. He's actually a lower seed of the two here, if I'm not mistaken. Indeed, let's take a look at the draft here real quickly. Divine, seed number 8 versus seed number 5, Baltune. And it is Divine with a match point heading into 4 Lakes into an OG matchup. Chinese versus HRE. Chinese, often the civilization that causes issues for the HRE, but not frequently on this map. 4 Lakes is just notorious for being a really good map for the Holy Roman Empire, and Divine is at a match point position. You know, Crackedy, this could easily be one of those moments where Divine, if he takes out Baltune over here, I think he's going to ride that momentum, and he's going to have a legitimate chance of potentially even securing a spot in the main event through the deciders tomorrow.
Yeah, that might be. Whoever wins this set is going to be facing off against another really, really strong player. It's going to be facing off against Annotant, who's already won his set on his side. So that's going to be still a very, very difficult one, even for Divine. Now, we're going to be looking at our next game. It's going to be China versus the HRE on 4 Lakes, and it looks like we're just about to jump into that one. Just a
Indeed, we're
moment
just
here.
seconds away, and we will be getting into game number 4 here. Decider, or not decider game just yet, it's match point game for Divine though. On to 4 Lakes we go, with the Holy Roman Empire facing off against the Chinese. Here it is, folks. It is going to be Baltune spawning in with the red Chinese to the right side. And to the south, it is going to be Divine with the Holy Roman Empire with the color blue.
Now, usually in these kind of matchups, the Chinese against the HRE, you would be favoring the HRE. However, on hybrid maps, it's very much still a toss-up, and I think China on a hybrid map like this probably has the upper hand, actually, when it comes to the economy and the timings. So I think China here definitely is going to be in a better position than the HRE. It's going to be left to see, though, how these players are going to be using these civilizations. Now, we do have a little bit of time until we really get into the heart of the game. And with all of these games being in very, very rapid succession, we actually haven't been able to really do a whole lot of shout out so far for EGC TV, who has been giving us all of these amazing tournament games here so far. So, fellas, if you enjoyed all of the casting here so far, today and in the coming days, in the coming weekends as well, as we're going to be bringing you all of these amazing games with the EGC finals, there's a way that you can support EGC. Not just over here on Twitch with your subs and your cheers and just being here to watch, but also over on Patreon, where you can directly support EGC TV. It is very much appreciated, and EGC TV is bringing all of you guys tons of tournament games and just overall the best place for Age of Empires 4 esports.
It certainly is, and boy, are we looking at an absolutely astonishing month coming up here with the EGC finals. 12 elite players, brand new civilizations, many new maps as well we're taking a look at. This qualifier is just the beginning of that absolute thing of beauty that we're about to witness. Tomorrow at 15 GMT, the usual start time of EGC broadcasts, we do have the deciders for the qualifiers, and starting next weekend, the big names, the ones that have already qualified through previous events, Marine Lord, Beastie, Vortex, Lucifron, and many others, they will be joining these players in the main event of this $25,000 tournament.
Indeed, indeed. And so far, looking at the economy from both players, the Chinese, they do pull ahead a little bit when it comes to the economy, just due to their docks being able to produce 20% faster. So a couple more fishing ships coming out here. Lumber Camp now also getting dropped for Baltune. On the opposite side, Divine, he's now also moving on to gold. Now the HRE, they need to move out to gold a little bit earlier, since they do get a free prelate with their start. As a sort of trade-off, they're going to be starting the game off with 0 gold. So you're going to have to gather 200 gold if you want to be able to go up to the fuel age.
Yeah, it's of course a big thing, but you do have this little buff provided by the prelate, though the gold miners aren't being buffed as we speak. As I'm saying that, Divine is going to move the prelate to the south. Now, of course, when you look at this map, 4 Lakes, one of the big things to look out for is sneaky docks on the enemy pawns and trying to shut down their food eco. Not just at the beginning of Feudal Age, but all across the game, players will be looking to expand towards the enemy pawns and try to disrupt the fishing eco that the opponents have over there.
Exactly. Now it looks like Divine. He's moving out in order to wall off the sides of his pond. There's a couple of walls out here and there. These walls are in order to deny your opponent from being able to place a dock in the first place. Now, the reason why you build in segments is that it's cheaper than just building one straight up large wall. And you're not able to place a dock everywhere. So these are just a couple of walls here and there to be able to make sure that your opponent isn't going to be able to get that foundation of a dock placed.
Indeed, Divine is going to get those walls going. No sign of a similar approach on the other side from Baltune just yet, but players will be heading into Feudal Age in a brief moment. Likely Aachen Chapel for Divine, and maybe a Barbican to start with for Baltune. He can honestly go either way, and eventually he's going to get the second landmark anyways for Song Dynasty. Let's see what landmark he chooses to go up with, though.
Could be the Imperial Academy, just to be able to produce additional Imperial officials without idling UTC. Now, there's a single villager right now going over from Baltune over towards the pond from Divine. He probably doesn't know yet that, oh, this is a beautiful moment to not scout that.
That is so unlucky for Divine. The forest blocking line of sight.
That's why he's walling. That's why he's walling, though, because this means that dock is likely not going to be coming up. Unless he's going to be able to place the dock all the way behind the dock from Divine there. And yeah, Baltune, he's now going to be spotting out these beautiful little palisade segments here. He's going to have to look where he can get that dock down. Wolf attacking the villager as well. Villager has to be careful. If he gets too low HP, even the Chinese villager might not be able to get that dock up. And oh no, Baltune actually hitting the dock, alerting Divine to there being a villager. And now Divine, he's just going to be pulling his villager in order to quick wall the remaining parts here of that pond in order to make sure that there's not going to be a dock coming up. And it looks like he's also pulling additional villagers in order to kill the villager here from Baltune before he's able to get a dock up.
This is so frustrating for Divine. He barely missed out on scouting that villager. And now there's a dock coming up, but he should be able to stop this villager from finishing the dock.
He's body
assuming
blocking!
That he's focusing the Vil.
He can't focus the Vil, he's body blocking on top. Oh, but the galley's gonna be in time. That dock is not going up.
Oh, you're saying that, but it does!
It actually goes up! No way! Baltune gets the dock up! That is an insane play, being able to body block with the scout, making sure that Divine isn't able to click onto the villager. But is the dock gonna be up for a long time? Because Divine immediately gets a double demolition ship out. But that's already worth it. That's already worth it because he's investing so many resources into units there. Like Baltune already got his value out of that dock. He's idling 3 villagers. He caused Divine to invest into 2 demo ships and a galley. That's so many resources. He's making another demo ship. That is such a waste of resources. He needs to okay, he canceled it. He canceled it.
Yeah, he isn't even using this demo now. But even the fact that he invested into a demo and then had to use 3 villagers to torch down the dock, that's a lot of delay on Divine. Now, good news for Divine is that he still is on track to get to Castle Age quickly over here. And I'm actually wondering if we are going to see a quick Burgrave Palace here. Something that could easily punish Baltune, who has absolutely no army on the field. Nothing. Not even a scout.
Burgrave Palace definitely could be dangerous, but usually China has options to deal with that. As soon as that Burgrave gets dropped down, Baltune might just get like 3 to 4 outposts up, and then with the hand cannon placement, he's going to be able to hold. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be a Burgrave. It's going to be the Regnants instead. Sable also gets dropped behind this by Divine, so it's going to be a play for the relics here for sure. And all of this though, Baltune, he is definitely expanding more out onto the pawns here than Divine is. And Ragnar's timing, it's very, very good for Divine considering how much he invested into those demolition ships and galley.
Yeah, certainly. He's got a very good Aachen Chapel placement, boosting all of his villagers. So I think that's a heavy contributor. And I think the other thing is that his food eco, the fishing, was never really harassed. It wasn't the case of, okay, there are combat ships shutting down the food eco. So he was able to get a very consistent stream of resources in, allowing him to get to Castle. Baltune isn't going to be lagging behind that much, though. You see, he's piling up resources himself, but the first Lancers will make it onto the field from Divine. He is rushing that landmark up with 18 villagers, knows that the timing is crucial in this one.
Yeah, he was starting up with 6, but then pulled a lot more villagers towards the end to get it up a little bit quicker here. Baltune, he's not far away from going up to Castle Age himself. Now, with the timing, I think Divine is probably going to be able to get 2 to 3 relics out. I think Baltune is going to be able to defend at least 2 relics here. Now, Astronomical Clock Tower is going up, and it's probably going to be Lancers coming out from both players here.
Yeah, it's gotta be Lancers from both sides initially, and it's just going to be a little... It's gonna be the little skirmish between the knights. And of course, looking to expand towards those relics, something that Divine has already gotten one of. He went for the one closest to him though, so the ones that are further away in the middle of the field could still potentially be denied by Baltune here, especially if he decides to just supervise the stables that he's making those Lancers with in order to catch up with the Lancer numbers.
But it looks like these relics are going to be going over for Divine, so very likely going to be a 3-2 relic game here. But behind all of that, Baltune, he's been expanding way more onto these pawns. So right now he's leading with 14 eco units. Now Divine can make up for that if he goes up to Imperial Age with the Palace of Swabia. It's going to be another big investment, but it looks to be the play that he's going for, as he's not really making a ton of knights here behind this.
Yeah, 3 Lancers against 2. Divine wants to go into Imperial though. We have seen this so many times from the HRE on this map. Use the fish to get to Castle quickly, and then use the relics plus the fish to get to quick Imperial, and start booming away using the Pass of Schwabia. Bit of a mismicro here, potentially. Vololo popped out here, but the Monk is gonna get taken out here before the Vololo actually does anything. Slight misstep over here for Divine. Not really shielding that one Monk with his own Knights, loses out on the Prelate.
With the food eco that Baltune has going for himself right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just able to overrun Divine with mass knights now. And it feels like Divine probably knows about this, so now he's once again dropping down a couple of outposts. And with the HRE, he's able to get some very, very cheap emplacements going. And he definitely is going to need some sprinkled emplacements here on these outposts if he wants to be able to hold this. But Baltune immediately going for the aggression with these knights. 7 out already, 4 more in the queue. And he can be able to afford that due to being able to have that increased fishing going for himself right now. There's some healing coming out. Divine.
He needs to invest into more knights, but as he's doing that, he's delaying his own Imperial, rushing up the tower though, and the Prelate is out there helping against those knights, providing some combat healing. Tower goes up as well. I think Divine has done enough to repel this, given how low the HP is for some of those Lancers on the other side.
Sprinkled emplacement is now going to be coming in. Is Baltune going to keep up the aggression? That's going to be the main question here. Looks like he is. More units might be going down here.
But it's tricky though, right? Even if you kill a couple of villagers here, if the Pass of Schwabia starts rolling, Divine can make up that villager deficit very, very quickly. And once he gets to Imperial, he's going to have bombard emplacements. In fact, I think that Divine has to cancel some of his Lancers now that he has those sprinkled emplacements, has to cancel them and go into Imperial if he wants to have a chance.
Baltune, he's just not letting up right now with the aggression, messing up more and more Lancers. 13 Lancers right now. There's a ram as well. That's going to be a clock tower ram coming out.
Not something that you see every day.
Definitely a way, though, to be able to finally get past all of these outposts. And yeah, Divine, he's trying to get there. He's trying to get to the Imperial Age. He's now dropping a barracks, though, multiple barracks. But he's even blocking the Archon spot there for farms later on. This is not looking pretty for him right now.
Yeah, this feels like desperation. The trajectory for him to take is clear. He needs to get to Imperial, but he's just not given any breathing room, and he's facing 16 Lancers now. Again, I feel like at this point, he just needs to Hail Mary this, get to Imperial, and use the bombard emplacements to hold this off.
Yeah, he definitely just has to do something with the resource that he has right now in the bank, but it looks like it's going to be Mass Spearman from him. And that might be a big mistake. He doesn't even have the Veterancy upgrade on those Spearmen yet. It's going to be the Hardened upgrade first.
No Blacksmith upgrades, no nothing, and Baltune is already making archers. I think he's playing right into the hands of Baltune by staying in Castle Age, although this might be the time he's dropping the Pass of Schwabia in a moment, I feel.
Now, the Ram is coming in. The Clock Tower Ram, and the Knights on the other side are in as well. Some villagers get sniped out. And the second Divine moves to one side. The Knights from the other side are going to be coming in as well. This should still be in range of the emergency repair, though. Lancers against Lancers, clashing once again. Baltune not choosing to take the fight, though, even having more numbers here.
he's playing this smart, and that's exactly what he needs to do. He cannot afford to throw this army away, and he's going to be just patiently waiting for the ramp to arrive, especially seeing how deprived Divine is of resources. Divine has to go on berries, and once again, Divine is just stuck in Castle Age here, floating a lot of resources, but having an underwhelming army and being overrun by much higher numbers coming from the Chinese player.
Indeed. Now the farm's also getting taken down quickly here. Springles
Many of the Lancers are
doing a
weak,
bit of
though.
damage. Yeah.
Baltune needs to be
Baltune has
cautious
to be
not to
careful.
throw away this army.
Oh, the Knights are going onto the ramp. Dr. Ram has a lot of HP, but even that, it's not going to be able to survive forever. Couple archers coming in now as well, and now the Knights are fighting here, even with the Spearman there. It's enough Knights. He's going to be able to win that fight.
A lot of Lancers fall, though. There's a second wave coming in from Baltune, and that has to be the saving grace. That initial army is just heavily damaged now, but there's a second wave coming in, supported by archers this time around. Divine's got 400 food per minute, and he's consistently producing Spearmen and Knights. That is not sustainable. Compare that to Baltune, 1400 food per minute. He can afford to play this slugfest for an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what you get when you have control over all of these individual pawns. And Baltune just able to flood military right now. Could potentially get even more rams out. He's got a second one. I'm not quite sure where it is right now out on the map. Oh, it's just chilling next to the clock tower there. Hasn't been moved out yet. He also didn't move out onto the sacred sites yet.
Yeah, I'm somewhat surprised. He could easily take those. And it looks like Divine is moving relics. He's probably trying to garrison them into defensive towers. Indeed, there it is on the wood line. Trying to hold on a little longer. Now has a siege workshop going as well, but his eco is so feeble. And now his option to go into Imperial is no longer there.
Oh no, he's bringing the relic forward. He's delivering it to Baltune. And now the outpost, he's trying to repair, but the outpost does go down.
It must be over.
To snipe the spears. Yeah, I mean, if Baltune just takes the relic, steals the relic now, Divine is just dead.
The tower is gone. That strong point that Divine had is just gone now. Relic also taken out of the picture. Villagers trying to get out to the berries. Baltune, he can easily shut down the food eco of Divine, and Divine's composition is so heavy that he simply won't survive that.
Mangonel coming out, but Baltune, he's got the Lance lead. There's not enough Spearmen out. You can't just snipe the Mangonel out right now. And he's going for it. Spearman just gonna get focused down by the archers, and with that Mangonel going down, I feel like it's probably GG now. As Divine is not gonna be able to hold this aggression from Baltune for much longer.
Yeah, Battering Ram is going to pull up once again. 14 Lancers and 15 Archers against 3 Spearmen, 3 Knights. This is a very unbalanced engagement now for Baltune, or, well, in the favor of Baltune, I should say. Double the population for him, all the map control he needs, and a decisively overwhelming force on his side.
Finally, we're seeing the Ram making its way over. Still no additional dives coming in quite yet from Baltune. We could be thinking of just YOLOing it in right now. He should know that he's got the 3 pawns, and Divine's only got that single one. There we go. Now he's going to be going for the dive. Additional Mangonel is going to be in queue, though, behind all of that. But Villagers going down. Those are heavy losses now. 21 economy units down so far. And no way to go to Imperial Age for Divine.
Yeah, at this point, he will never get to the Pass of Schwabia, which means that he will never catch up on eco, and eventually he's going to he's going to be ground down over here. Mangonel shot is nice, but it just comes in a little too late. Preemptive Vololo to prevent the Monk from being picked will be popped, but once the Vololo is over, the Monk is also going to get taken out. Now it's 22 Lancers against 3. Divine looking to just transition into crossbows. Once again, a little too late. His eco is just getting shattered. And Crackedy, we're looking at a series here which will go to game number 5, a decider game between the two, to decide who gets to play in the deciders tomorrow. I know that sentence had a lot of decides in it, but boy oh boy, are we having a series over here. One of these players will have a chance to qualify for the main event of EGC finals. The other one will have to say goodbye to the tournament today.
Exactly. And this was a game scenario where Baltune's aggression definitely worked out here for him. He had the beneficial eco as well, being on all of these different pawns. And Divine, it looks like he was just a little bit too indecisive with what he wanted to do. He definitely had the resource at one point to go up to the Imperial Age, then decided against it though, kept reinvesting into units, and slowly but surely just got ground down by Baltune there. Definitely a great game, and as you said, this is going to be a set where we will be going to game number 5. Very, very even here so far between these two players.
Oh, it certainly is. And this was probably the first game where we saw Divine playing a more passive game, in a very defensive game that is, and Baltune being able to break that defense. Game number 1, game number 3, that wasn't the case. In both of the cases where Baltune failed to take out Divine, it was a very condensed base setup by Divine, very defensive early game, focusing a lot on the eco. I think he might try to do something similar here with the Abbasids as well. It's going to be Helendale as game number 5. Baltune is going to have the English, and Divine will have the Abbasid dynasty.
All right. This once again, though, on this map does allow for Divine to go for that very, very condensed economy, that very, very condensed base. It's going to be interesting to see if this time with the English, Baltune might be able to crack that nut and be able to get into the base from Divine and take him out here. I think Divine also has the option on a map like Hill and Dale to potentially go for trade. That might also be the option. Sometimes Hill and Dale does spawn with these traders, trade posts in the corners, and English usually is not the kind of civilization to be able to push out against civilizations that are also able to put up big military forces early on, like the Abbasid, who get a huge boost to their economy early on with those berry bushes gathering, as well as a potential military wing. Will be interesting to see exactly how this game is going to get played.
Yeah, it's a great point you bring up here. It's not just a TC boom that could be deadly from the Abbasids. It could very well be the trade that we could look at, especially if the opposing English player is looking to play a very condensed and slow game. In that case, trade could easily be a tool of punishing him. And that's something that we've seen from Divine against the Malians in game number 2 using the Mongols. It didn't work out in that case, but I think in an Abbasid versus English matchup, trade is a lot more legitimate than it was in the Mongols versus Malian matchup.
Yeah, I think so too. I've actually had a very close game against Lucifron going for a Abbasid trade. I think it's definitely an option here against the English to go for that. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. Just going to be a little bit longer. I think players only just drafted their civilizations, so going to be a little bit of time until we actually go into our 5th game of this set. In the meantime, you can see our EGC TV community support goal in our bottom right corner here, and you can help support us over on Patreon or directly here on Twitch. By the way, EGC TV, we're getting very close to be able to apply, or rather get to that Partnership Plus program over here on Twitch. You can help us by subscribing directly over here on Twitch, and with that, EGC TV can get a better split there when it comes to the revenue sharing with Twitch, allowing them to put up even more great tournaments like the EGC Finals in the coming year. We've got a whole new season planned for Age of Empires 4 esports in the coming year. So you can help be a part of that, support EGC TV, and help make Age of Empires 4 the greatest esport for RTS as it can be.
Indeed, and thank you so much, everybody, for supporting us throughout this stream. We've seen a lot of gifted subs, a lot of new subs, some bits as well, donations too. Those are also very, very helpful. But there's also a free way to support us. That is just telling your friends, showing them the streams, showing them these games. And if they enjoy it, they can join us in the next broadcast as well. Of course, those are very valuable for us as well. Hopefully, you are enjoying your stay over here as we are heading very soon into what will be the final game of this set and today's broadcast as well. That is going to be a showdown between Baltune and Divine, Abbasids versus the English on Hill and Dale to decide who gets to play in the deciders tomorrow.
Exactly. An anonymous gifter coming in with 50 gifted subs. Thank you very much, anonymous gifter. Thank you for supporting EGC TV and all the stuff that we're standing for here right now. Gobo Topo, also thank you for the gifted sub. It is very much appreciated. The community truly is the driving force behind EGC TV and just allowing us to bring you guys all of these amazing tournaments.
Indeed, just 50 seconds left to go, Crackedy. Who do you think has the edge here going into game number 5, based on what we have seen earlier today?
I've got to hand it to Divine. Like, his defensive playstyle at times can be annoying to play against, but if it's working, go for it. And so far, it's definitely been showing to be a great way to win these kind of games. And I think with the Abbasid, he can definitely go for that. I think Divine's Abbasid can definitely pull that same kind of style off. I'm not sure about Baltune's English. I don't remember the last time I saw him play English. Then again, the DLC just came out, and that kind of like um, it it created a big void in my brain that only was able to be filled by DLC content. It's gonna be interesting to see if Baltune's English is gonna be able to topple Divine's Abbasid here.
Well, we only have a couple of seconds of wait left in here. Once again, Anonymous Gifter dropping another 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much for the support. Hopefully you will enjoy this one upcoming game as we are heading into Hillandale to have a very old school matchup here, Crackedy. English versus the Abbasids. Baltune is going to be with the color red to the south with the English, and to the north, it's Divine playing as the Abbasid dynasty with the color blue.
Exactly. Here on Hillendale, known map in the rank pool for quite a while, and Baltune starting off with the similar build that we've seen the last time. Or rather, he is going on to those deer early on in the game. Now, this makes a lot of sense because you have the deer very, very close to your TC on Hill and Dale. And what this also allows you to do is move out with your scout and be away from your base a lot longer before really needing to go back and drop off sheep here. That's already an inherent benefit for the Abbasid. But as the English, you don't usually get this benefit. Having this here on this map means that you're potentially getting more sheep.
Indeed, that's a big thing, especially because we might see an early defensive-focused turtle-style game here from both of these players. So I kind of like how you move out for all this deer. You obviously want to take all these resources that are potentially somewhat contested once you get to Feudal Age, once you get to Castle Age. And we've seen Divine, or Baltune actually, do this in game number 1 with the French. Same thing, he went for the deer in Dark Age. That time, he was doing that with the French though, so he did get a decent discount on the mill.
Yeah, with the French, it makes a lot of sense, but the English can do it as well. They want to have a mill at some point anyways. Now, the placement of the mill is not ideal. It's not what you usually want it to be very far forward. You probably won't be dropping farms there immediately. But still, later on in the game, definitely have the option. And also having the option of getting that wheelbarrow early on in the game with that, it's going to be very nice for them. But I think this one, I saw a lot of people in the chat talking about that this is probably going to be a defensive game coming out from both sides here. We've seen a ton of aggression so far from Baltune in all of these matches. I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes for straight up all-in aggression once again. And the English against the Abbasid can definitely do that. They get the men-at-arms early on in Feudal Age, and yeah, if it just goes for like a prolonged Feudal Age, I think 1 TC English can beat something like a 2 TC Abbasid.
I think one of the big things to look out for is that the stone is to the front of Divine's base. He's going up with the economy wing for the time being. But as you said, Baltune played some very aggressive games in this set, including that crazy castle drop with the Ottomans. We could see him playing aggressive once again. And on this map, it's definitely feasible, given that you don't have much of an open field. You have a much easier time focusing engagements to a certain position. For you, ideally, that's the front of the enemy base. And that's something that the Abbasids could struggle to hold, especially when you consider that you don't have a lot of safe resources to work with. So, for Baltune, hitting those lumberjacks on the front could be a prime target.
Yeah, we also have to remember that the secondary TC has been nerfed. Now, Longbowmen, they got a base range of 7 tiles. Secondary TCs, they used to have an 8 tile range. Now it's down to 6, which means that Longbowmen outrange TCs. That can be a very, very decisive factor as we go into the Feudal Age, and if there's going to be multiple TCs coming out from Divine, those aren't going to be able to protect his villagers against the Longbowmen.
Yeah, for now it's Economy Wing versus the Council Hall. No villagers moving to stone from Divine yet, but one thing that's important here is that he decided not to go with the military wing, so he won't have that double spearman, double archer opening. No surprise against the English, those guys would just die to a handful of longbows anyways. But it means that he's got absolutely no standing army right now, even just a handful of longbows moving up could be a pain to deal with.
Yeah, the question is gonna be, I mean, Divine, he hasn't moved out to stone yet, which makes me think that he knows that he's gonna have to invest into military early on here before he can go for that secondary TC. I would
He's
like
heavy
to
on
see if
wood. He wants
Baltune.
a production building.
I would like to see Baltune going for a barracks immediately, because you can't just make only longbowmen here in this matchup. I feel like.
Yep, I agree. Divine was very heavy on wood, so there was a clear sign that he wants to go for a production building. It's probably going to be a stable, that's the most logical thing, and there is the direct response from Baltune, as you said. He needs to drop a barracks immediately.
And all of that economy upgrades also being researched here for Baltune. So he's gonna be able to scale his economy better on 1TC. Upgrades are also coming in for Divine. He's getting fresh foodstuffs as well as the Fertile Crescent upgrade from his House of Wisdom. What that means is that all of his economy buildings are gonna be reduced in cost, and on top of that, his villagers are also only going to cost around 32 food instead of the full 50.
It's going to be horseman archers now coming in. Baltune only made a single spearman. Nothing else coming out just yet for him. No longbows. There's a second spearman queue. Okay, now he's queuing up some longbows. It looks like he is going to have some presence on the map. But I'm starting to wonder if he's just going to play a super passive game here. Because I feel like if he wanted to be very aggressive, he probably would have put more focus on building up that force quickly.
I think he noticed that Divine didn't immediately go out to stone, so he was suspecting something like that. And with the English, you can't really move out too early. If you trickle in units like one by one, chances are that you're gonna get picked off. And now he sees both the camel archer as well as the horseman. So he has to feel good now about his choice of units that he went for. With this, he is definitely gonna be in a position to put up aggression on Divine. He has to be careful though, because his opponent, he has the more mobile army composition right now. So I think ideally Baltune should look towards walling at least the sides of his base, just to make sure there's not going to be any raids coming in from these more mobile units. Divine now also going for archers on top of the camel archers. Yeah, so far just completely taken off of stone. And the longer this game goes on 1TC for both players, the better English will fare.
Certainly, and that stone spawn does not help Divine by any means. Baltune does have a decent presence over here, and I agree with you. I think Baltune probably saw that Divine isn't going on stone, so he isn't going to overcommit into this aggression and risk losing his army. He's more than happy just staying in this long feudal age, having his opponent use up a lot of wood on units. Don't forget, you don't have a lot of wood to start with on this map. So the fact that this is a fight where both players are just investing into very wood-heavy units is actually really good for the English. Abbasid stay on 1TCs, and eventually, Divine is going to have to start moving out of his base to secure additional wood.
Yeah, Divine right now just moving around with that camel archer and the two horsemen. Army from Baltune still looking very, very solid here. He's also upgrading his men-at-arms right now. So maybe we're going to be seeing a transition into men-at-arms now. And now we see Divine also moving out onto stone. Baltune still has a scout in his base. I don't think he has a direct line of sight on the stone right now, though. Definitely has to look towards that at some point here. But even if that second TC comes out, I think that by now, the timing for that second TC to pay off, it's going to be very, very delayed. And if Baltune just gets men-at-arms out, I don't think Divine can really do a whole lot here against that. Now, the units from Divine, they're going to go towards the side, and this is the point where I really want to see Baltune just walling in those sides on his base.
Yeah, he needs to. If he starts having units running circles around his base, that's as bad as it gets for the English. And Divine, he's got a camel archer. That's a really good unit to harass villagers with. And it's Baltune who has to dictate the tempo of these fights with the longbows and the spearmen and the men-at-arms even. So as you said, if he gets some walls up, he can negate this raiding element that Divine could have. Speaking of which, Divine only has two horsemen and a camel archer. He started mixing in archers very heavily, but he doesn't really have a cavalry force at this point.
And while he might be having enough stone right now to be able to drop a secondary
Nope.
TC,
He
or
doesn't.
soon rather, Fertile Crescent does discount it, so I think he's right about there. He needs like 20 more.
The
20 more
scout was
stone.
positioned just to see the edge of that stone mine, so the Baltune knew where Divine was moving onto the stone. And uh-oh, I don't think Divine has enough for a TC.
He does. Stone-wise, he definitely does have enough there. We can just hover over the TC. He definitely has enough. For Divine, hover over the TC. Yeah, it only takes 263 stone. He has enough stone,
Yeah.
but he just doesn't have any wood at all right now, and he needs to invest his wood into archers.
And wood is an issue, especially because once this tower is up, you will have the network of castles aura for Baltune, and he can position his scouts such that he provides line of sight for these longbows. In fact, you see him doing this right now. Line of sight is shared. If the scout sees those units, so will the longbows, and that is what Baltune is trying to do here. The tower gets stopped in the meantime, though. Archers
Divine
breaking out.
killing the
Horsemen trying to
villager.
pick the villager. They do get the pick on the Veil, but they suffer from a lot of damage here.
Longbowman, the blacksmith upgrades. And all the archers from Divine are going out. This is a terrible trade for him. The men-at-arms are also taking down the horsemen here behind all of that. Yeah, horsemen are going down. These are very heavy losses. And with that, Divine's entire army is gone, and he still doesn't have that second TC. And
That is
Baltune,
looking
he's just gonna
so
send another
bad for
villager.
Divine. A lot of units lost here for Baltune as well, but he is more than happy doing this. The English love playing this longbow game, whereas on the other side, Divine wants that second TC, but he's just not given a window to get it up.
Our archers are going to be able to fire above the wood line.
Oh, he spotted them. He spots the villagers fleeing, and this could be it for Divine. He simply cannot afford to lose all these villagers. Longbows on pursuit. This is looking so grim now for Divine.
Yeah, and he's also hitting the villagers there on the lumber camp. Enough. It's just enough men-at-arms here right now as well to be able to deal with the archers. Like, even if the archers clean up the longbowmen, it's still gonna be a constant flood of units right now. Like, this is not the entire army from Baltune. He's got a ton more units coming out right now from his base. It's a steady stream of units right now.
He's forcing suboptimal engagements here from Divine. Divine has to sacrifice a lot of pricey units, including horsemen, to save these lumberjacks. And behind this, Divine still doesn't have that second town center going. The archers are gone. 23 army to 3 here, Crackedy. And once those longbowmen set sights on their villagers, it's all gonna be over.
Yeah, villagers are now gonna be pulled back. Another production building actually gets denied here now for Divine, only on 2 archery ranges right now. He's not gonna be able to outproduce the longbowmen. And with that, I feel like this might actually just be game over right now for Divine. Going out to that stone mine, trying to get that second TC up. He's got 300 idle resources right now in the bank that he's not able to do anything with. This might have just killed him.
Baltune has played aggressive in every single game. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it backfired. But in the game that matters the most, he's able to pull off a very good assault here against the enemy base. Now he's up by 7 villagers, despite playing English against Abbasids, and that deficit will just keep increasing for Divine. Villagers idled, he doesn't really have a tool to deal with all these men-at-arms and longbows, and there's just nowhere left to go here for Divine but a GG call. He fought valiantly, he was so close, but it looks very much like Baltune is going to be the one moving into the deciders tomorrow.
Indeed. Just more men-at-arms out right now than there are archers for Divine. The longbowmen as well. Another outpost is starting to get dropped here as well. He already has the buff right now with the network of castles. And the economy for Baltune is just so good right now. 800 food per minute compared to 300. And now with the buff, all of these longbowmen have the increased attack speed. All the units have the increased attack speed. And Divine is idle under his TC.
Yeah, that's the problem. Even if Divine can hold this assault now, he has lost 14 villagers. He's down by 13 against an English player. His lumberjacks are still being denied. There is no second TC coming in anytime soon. At this point, if Baltune just camps out of the enemy base, he already has a great chance of securing this game.
Villager from Baltune does get sniped out before the outpost gets completed. But at this point in time, the wood line is through as well. Now the men-at-arms can just run in. With that, once again, even more villagers get taken down.
And villagers just getting caught in the crossfire over here. And indeed, there it is. Divine fighting valiantly, playing a very defensive and successful game in many of these games. But Baltune finally cracking his defense. Baltune takes out Divine 3-2. He is the one moving on to the deciders tomorrow.